Chris Pratt wears a lot of hats. Velociraptor tamer, passenger, random Lego guy, and millionaire. Keep watching to see how this Avenger spends his millions. Chris Pratt, like all millionaires, is fairly diversified. However, most of his fortune was made from his acting career alone. With the added revenue from sponsorship deals, his production company, and his farm, he's amassed a fortune of $60 million. To the average human, that is a shocking amount of money. But even more surprising is how he chooses to spend it. The largest of Chris Pratt's purchases to date is by far the Pacific Palisades mansion he bought with wife Katherine Schwarzenegger in 2018. The new crib was a well-kept secret due to it being an off-market purchase. It was never available to the public, and it was also unfinished. Despite the need for construction, they still dropped a modest $15.6 million on a three-story home. The house was originally built in 1995. It was 8,000 square feet with a traditional Mediterranean style typical of the area. It's in a very private gated community called Marquez Knolls with only 5 neighboring homes. The area has beautiful views of the Pacific Ocean and Catalina Island. Because the house was unfinished, Pratt had the opportunity to gut the entire house and add all of the custom finishes he and his wife Katherine wanted. This large renovation added square footage for a grand total of 10,000 square feet. It has 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, plenty of space for his growing family of 4. As far as design goes, the external house has taken on a more traditional style. They've also added plenty of cool amenities like a home gym, a wine cellar, a huge garage, a pool house, and an in-ground infinity-edged pool. And after over 2 years of renovation, the happy family was able to move in January of 2021. Chris Pratt has never been one to make huge purchases like this in the past, so it's nice to see Owen Grady in a house that could fit a T-Rex. The new Pratt pad is a huge upcharge from the Hollywood Hills house he purchased with Anna Faris in 2013 for $3.3 million. That house was just under half the size of his current home at 4,700 square feet, with 4 bedrooms and 3.5 baths. It was decorated with natural wood and lots of natural light. It was surrounded by greenery with a pool in the yard, and it had a formal dining room, a gourmet eat-in kitchen, and a huge living room with a wet bar. All in all, not a bad place to rest your head. But they sold the home in 2018 for $4.9 million when their divorce was finalized. Fans of Chris Pratt, particularly those who follow him on Instagram, will know that he's not just an actor, he's also a farmer. And no, we're not talking about a rinky-dink chicken coop in the backyard or a pet pig he bought on a whim. Chris Pratt is an honest-to-goodness rancher. There is not a lot of information about Pratt's ranch online. What we know is it's very much a place to detox and get away from the public eye. That being said, we know that the ranch is on San Juan Island in Washington State. And in a 2019 interview with Jimmy Kimmel, Pratt confirmed that the farm is about 100 acres. It's a very exclusive place to own property, and his neighbors include Oprah and Bill Gates. We'll talk more about his farm purchases later in the video. There's definitely a trend in Hollywood of celebrities spending money on flashy vehicles. That's why Chris Pratt's car collection is actually kind of basic. In his collection, he has a 2006 Triumph Scrambler. Jurassic World fanatics may recognize this off-road motorcycle. It's the exact same one he rode through the jungle with velociraptors. After filming, he got to keep it. It's not technically a purchase, but it's not free to maintain a motorcycle. And it's worth a little under $8,000. So not a bad wrap gift, that's for sure. Another classic in Pratt's garage is a shiny gold 1965 Volkswagen Beetle. It wasn't originally a purchase of his, he actually won it in a game of blackjack, but he worked on restoring it for 12 years or so he definitely put a lot of money into it. The car in the condition it's in is valued around $13,000. It may not seem like the coolest car, but he loves its authenticity and uniqueness. The rest of the Pratt fleet of cars is more modern and by proxy more expensive. The priciest vehicle in the garage is a Ford F-150 Raptor. Every rancher owner needs a truck, and the not-so-subtle homage to his character in Jurassic World makes it all the more perfect. The F-150 Raptor is a 5-seater with a V6 engine, plenty of room to drive his wife and 2 kids around the farm. And with a value of almost $70,000, this definitely isn't the pickup truck for a first-time truck owner. The next car in Chris Pratt's lineup is a Toyota FJ Cruiser. He's had the car for over a decade and went with the classic look of a bright blue body with a white roof. Despite being a fairly basic car, FJ Cruisers are actually high in demand at the moment. Valued at around $36,000, they're definitely more expensive than the average small SUV. Although Chris Pratt is conservative with his money by Hollywood standards, he didn't miss the Tesla bandwagon. We get it. Of course, it looks like a car from the future. Pratt didn't go for the flashiest models like the S or the X, but instead purchased a sensible gray Model 3. That is, if you can call buying a sedan for $47,000 sensible. Regardless, we appreciate his attempt to go green. Twilight fan will love the last car in Chris Pratt's collection, a Volvo XC60. It's the same car that Edward drove in New Moon and Eclipse, and that's obviously the reason he bought it. Obviously. It's not a car you buy when you want to get noticed, but it's definitely a luxurious little SUV, and it's definitely in a higher price range with a starting price of $42,000. It's no Ferrari, but it is the car you can use to take your family to the IHOP, and you can never put a price on that. The Parks and Rec alum has never shown any major interest in high fashion, but he does have an eye for expensive watches. In a 2019 interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Pratt was rocking the extremely bold double watch move. Not many can pull off a watch on each wrist, but he seemed to get away with it. And it doesn't hurt that both of those watches were Cartier. One was a Calibre de Cartier Chronograph. The timepiece is valued at $8,950. The other was a Cartier de Calibre Diver, valued at $7,900. Both are members of Cartier's Calibre collection, also known as part of their sportier range. We'd be hard-pressed to find someone who wanted to play basketball wearing $8,000 worth of jewelry, but that's just us. Sticking somewhat within the vein of fine jewelry and things of that nature is another one of Chris Pratt's purchases, a 30-pound Amethyst Geode. His ex-wife, Anna Faris, like many other celebrities, is a big fan of Geodes. So like any loving partner would, he bought her a 30-pound Geode worth $1,900. Nothing says I love you quite like a 30-pound rock. Remember earlier when we mentioned Chris Pratt has a farm? Well, on that farm he has pigs and sheep and chickens. Over 30 pigs, around 160 sheep, and at least 60 chickens. And before you get any ideas about starting your own little pasture, you should know that the purchase price of these animals alone adds up to just over $67,000. That doesn't include feeding and the rest of their life cycle. And for Pratt, they're definitely not just a hobby. His animals are prize winners, specifically his ewe named Cacao. The people he employs at his farm took Cacao's fleece to Stanwood, Washington, where they held Fiberpalooza. We haven't had the pleasure of attending, but we hear it's a big day for the herd. Pratt's sheep named Cacao won a blue ribbon for her fleece. It was featured in one of his many Instagram posts about the farm. He also has a Texas Longhorn on the property. This specific breed of cow usually sells for around $1,400. He's posted about it on Instagram in the past, and it's clear that he transferred her from Texas to Washington. Based on his posts, she's adjusting well, and we couldn't be happier. And the Longhorn isn't the only imported animal at the farm. Back in 2019, Chris Pratt's wife, Katherine Schwarzenegger, bought him 2 pet Kune-Kune Piglets. They're a breed that comes from New Zealand, and each piglet costs anywhere from $800 to $1,600. Pratt's a huge fan of country music and decided to name the piggies Tim and Faith after Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. In his Instagram post of the pigs, he said he named them after the super couple because they're beautiful and their love is palpable and inspiring. And unlike other animals on the farm, these Kune-Kune are genuinely pets. They won't be made into bacon, and they'll live their lives living on the farm, living as large as little Sebastian. One of the dark sides of Pratt's rise to fame is he was told he was too fat to be successful in Hollywood. This pushed him to make a drastic change to his body during his time on Parks and Rec. His transformation and the success of the show allowed him to score bigger roles in Moneyball, The 5-Year Engagement, Zero Dark 30, and Her. It was a total lifestyle change, and he has become quite the fitness nut in recent years. He regularly talks about the importance of physical exercise, and he particularly loves boxing. Yes, Johnny Karate is actually a boxer, and just like any of his other interests, he likes to have the best equipment. In this case, that's Venum Elite boxing gloves. Their gloves and equipment run on the expensive side, ranging from $50 to $140. Fighters in the UFC use this brand, so it's probably worth the money for anyone serious about boxing. The Napa leather holds up well and the triple density foam protects your hands. Chris Pratt says boxing is an important skill in case someone attacks you, so it's probably best to buy equipment that will protect your hands. Ongoing with the theme of fitness, there's no run-of-the-mill treadmill at the Pratt house. He bought a NordicTrack commercial treadmill series valued at $1,800. It comes with a 10-inch Smart HD touchscreen with studio workouts and elite trainers. It also comes with iFit, which has live and on-demand workouts. You can run with trainers up cliffs in Scotland or follow an on-demand workout class. He uses it to work out comfortably because he suffers from a bad back. Hiking is a California pastime, but downhill would be challenging. This model only goes uphill, which fits his needs perfectly. And who can work out without music? Well, maybe some people like it, but a large portion of gym members roll up with earbuds engaged. Chris Pratt is no exception. His headphones of choice are the Bose Soundsport headphones with a pretty price tag of $190. That's not a shock to anyone who's in the know about speakers and headphones. They're wireless with Bluetooth connection, great for workouts. They're also sweat and weather resistant. And one particular cool feature is the Bose Connect app. It allows you to manage your Bluetooth connections and gives you a breakdown of all the headphones' features. They honestly sound like a great investment for anyone looking for workout gear. Back in 2014, the Guardians of the Galaxy star hosted the 40th anniversary episode of Saturday Night Live. Even with musical guest Ariana Grande, he decided to bust out the guitar and sing a song during his monologue. The particular acoustic guitar he was playing was a Gibson worth $4,400. If you know anything about guitars, you know that Gibson is a very well-known and expensive brand. There are several reasons for this. The Gibson Company was founded in 1894 in Michigan and has been around for 125 years. That much time confirms that their guitars are objectively good and allows them to charge more money for their name alone. They also get all of their materials from America, and their 3 factories are all in the U.S. Their location in Bozeman, Montana is where they make their acoustic guitars. A large portion of the guitars' construction is also done with human hands. Domestic, handmade production is expensive. Other factors go into it, like the type of wood used, the age of the guitar, and the Plek machine that scans the guitars to make sure they're up to Gibson standards. In short, Gibson guitars are a big purchase, but we expect nothing less from the lead singer and founder of Mouse Rat, aka Fleetwood Mac Sexpants. Making lots of money and spending it on fun things like headphones and farm animals sounds great, but what is it worth if you don't have a partner to share it with? Chris Pratt was married to Anna Faris in a spontaneous elopement in 2009. After 3 years of marriage, they had their son Jack in 2012. After 8 years of marriage, he and Anna Faris decided to call it quits. They're still friends and they co-parent their son. In their custody agreement, they also have to live within 5 miles of each other, so it's good that they're getting along. In 2018, Pratt met Katherine Schwarzenegger, daughter of Maria Shriver and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Shriver was actually the one to set them up, and they met in church. Clearly, their love was strong from the first moment because by January 2019, they were engaged. He proposed with a 5-carat oval center stone diamond ring with a simple band. The cut is one of the most popular at the moment, and though it is simple, it's anything but cheap. Diamond expert Catherine Money, yes, that's her real name, appraised the ring at $150,000 to $250,000. That may seem like a large margin of error, but cut and clarity is hard to tell from a few Instagram photos. Huge rock on hand, they were married and expecting their first child together by the end of 2019. In 2020, they had their daughter, Lila Maria. As of December 2021, they live in their custom Pacific Palisades mansion and are expecting their second child together. Congratulations to the happy couple. But we don't suggest letting your kids play in your jewelry. So we know how he spends his money, but how did he go from a homeless waiter to multimillionaire? Pratt struggled in his younger years. He dropped out of college and for a short time worked as a coupon salesman. After that, he quit his job to become Matt Foley, inspirational speaker, when his friend invited him to Hawaii to live in his van. We're only kidding, of course. For a short time, Pratt worked in the Bubba Gump Shrimp Restaurant in Maui. It was during this time he was discovered by actress and director Rae Dawn Chung. She asked him to star in her movie Cursed, Part 3, and thus a star was born. Of course, the third installment of a horror comedy franchise doesn't make a career. After his first role, he scored recurring roles on Everwood and The O.C. He then continued on to more small parts in the movies Wanted, Bride Wars, and Jennifer's Body. It wasn't until 2009, almost 10 years after his first acting job, that Pratt got his breakout role as Andy Dwyer on Parks and Rec. His time as the idiot idiotic lead singer of Mouse Rat was the catalyst to his multi-million-dollar career. But his popularity from the show was bittersweet. He was told he was too overweight to be successful in Hollywood. This pushed him to make a drastic change to his body during his time on the NBC hit. His transformation and the success of the show allowed him to score bigger roles. And Pratt didn't just make this change to have an easier time with casting. He was proving himself to director James Gunn, who originally didn't want to cast him as Star-Lord because he thought he was too fat. We can't imagine a better motivator for an actor than a chance to play a superhero. Fans of the intergalactic Marvel franchise can vouch that his physique was very much in shape for filming. And he made $1.5 million, so take that, James Gunn. Overall, 2014 proved to be the year that everything was awesome for Pratt. In addition to joining the MCU, he also voiced the starring role of Emmett in the Lego Movie. It was an instant hit for all ages that earned him $3.2 million. Once he impressed the world as Peter Quill, the jobs just kept rolling in. In 2015, he starred in Jurassic World as Velociraptor expert Owen Grady. In 2016, Pratt starred in The Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington. Clearly a fan of space, Pratt also played the leading role of Jim Preston in the sci-fi flick Passengers, for which he earned a career high of $12 million. 2018 was also a huge year for the actor. He returned for the role of Star-Lord for Avengers Infinity War, which earned him $5 million. We dream of the day we can earn millions for 10 minutes of screen time. He then reprised his role of Owen Grady in the sequel Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which earned him a whopping $10 million. His career continued to thrive for the next 3 years with return roles in Avengers Endgame and the Lego Movie 2, the second part. He also voiced the role of Barley Lightfoot alongside fellow Avenger Tom Holland in the Disney film Onward. His most recent role to date was as Dan Forrester in Amazon Prime's The Tomorrow War, for which he also acted as executive producer. When he isn't recording voice roles for box office hits, he's using his voice for video games. His talents were used for Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Cosmic Destruction. He also voiced his own movie roles for the games Lego Jurassic World and Lego Dimensions. In addition to acting, this Hollywood Chris is a brand ambassador for Toomey Luggage and Michelob Ultra. He also has his own production company, Indivisible Productions. They're about to release a show on Prime Video called The Terminal List. Pratt has steadily had one of the most successful acting careers in film for the last 10 years, and the gravy train shows no signs of stopping. He's slated to reprise his roles as Owen Grady and Peter Quill in 2022 in Jurassic World Dominion and Thor Love and Thunder respectively, as well as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is set to be released in 2023. It's always interesting to see what famous people spend their money on. If you could fund all of your priorities without a thought, what would they be? Compared to most of Hollywood, Chris Pratt seems downright frugal. One of his biggest investments is the farm, and he actually makes money back from butchering and yarn production. Apparently, it pays to buy sheep with lamb selling for $35 a pound, if not more.